Hi, this is Elisa with 60 Days to 60 because in less than 60 days I'm going to turn 60. And so I'm sharing 60 short videos of things I've learned in my 60 years. Last time I shared this book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, and commitment number one was one of the things I was going to talk about next. And they call it taking radical responsibility. I call it taking 100% responsibility or being 100% responsible. So, back in the day when I used to do life coaching, one of the things I would tell people is good news, bad news. You're 100% responsible. The reason why it's bad news is because we love having someone to blame for our problems. Everything not going well in our lives, we want to blame on our parents, our friends, society, the government, religion, you name it. We want to blame anyone or anything else. The bad news is if it really was their fault, then we would be powerless to change anything about it. The good news is because we really are 100% responsible and we really are creating our own lives, we can make change. And that is really good news. It's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires effort. But if you are willing to be 100% responsible for your life, then you can change almost anything. Not everything, but most things. And you definitely can make anything in your life better if you're willing to do that. So, what that might look like, for example, I have always struggled with weight. And I think I've mentioned this in previous videos. And spoiler alert, after my 60 days to 60, I think my next thing is going to be a health challenge. I have an idea I'm cooking up. I do not have the best genetics for weight loss. And for years, I did blame it on that. And, I was taught habits and I don't have these tall, thin genetics. So I like to say I'm 5'3" because I was always 5'3" growing up. But one thing as you get older, sometimes you shrink a little. I think last time I measured myself, I was really 5'2", but I still claim 5'3". Anyway, either is short. And shorter people also have a harder time losing weight, which is really not fair. And it also shows up more on shorter people than taller people. Again, not really fair. And I spent a lot of my life like feeling bad about that and blaming genetics and blaming whatever I could. But the bottom line is there's a lot I don't do that I can do to be healthier, to be stronger, and probably even to be a little thinner. And I'm, again, not going to tell you all about that right now. But when I became 100% responsible for that is when my health started changing. And like I said, there's some things that are out of my control. Aging is out of my control. I have thyroid conditions that throw some tricky stuff into the mix. But I take full responsibility. And because of that, I can get healthier. I can get stronger. There is a lot that I actually can do. And when I'm playing the victim and I'm blaming, I'm not focused on what I can do. I'm focused on poor me and everyone's against me. And when I'm focused on, hey, I'm 100% responsible, then I ask better questions and I look for different solutions. And hey, what can I be doing? I want to talk just a minute too about relationships. I took a class years ago about being impeccable with your 50%. So in a relationship, you're only 50% of the relationship, right? And a lot of times we focus on what the other person isn't doing or what they could be doing better. And it brings a lot of unhappiness to us and to the relationship. Now, if you're being abused, I'm not talking about that. Okay, that is different. I'm just talking about general, I get annoyed, they're not doing what I want them to do kind of things. And when you focus on being impeccable with your 50% or doing all that you can in the relationship, it tends to make for a more peaceful and happier relationship. And like I'm saying, not 100% of the time because some things that are out of your control are a little more serious than other things. And so I don't want to downplay those in any way. But most relationships, most things that annoy us within relationships are not those big, big things. So don't go to the outlier. Well, I know someone who this, or I know someone who that. I know. But we're just talking about most relationships, most people, most of us tend to get annoyed with things with the other person and focus on that instead of focusing on what we can be responsible for in the relationship. And when we turn that focus back to what we can be responsible for, usually the relationship will improve drastically. It's amazing. I've tried it over and over. I hope that helps. Agree or disagree in the comments. I would love to hear. And have a great day, and I will see you on the next video.